You ever wanted to be a fighter pilot? You ever wanted to be Top Gun? You ever want to go so fast you stomach just shit your pants? Let me tell you about VTOL VR. This game is incredible. I can't stop thinking about it. I can't stop playing it. I've got more than 80 hours in a freaking VR game, for goodness sake here. The thing about VTOL VR that makes it so good is that it feels like you are flying. You put on the VR headset, you sit in the plane, you're immediately ripping through skyscrapers. You're immediately doing barrel rolls, Immelmans, half loops, and then dropping it right down smoothly on the runway. It's an incredible feeling. But I tell you what, when the game gets hairy, when there's people coming after you, when the bullets and missiles and bombs are flying, oh boy does it feel good. You're yanking back on that stick, you're pulling 4, 5, 6, Jesus Christ, you can't believe what you're pulling off in this game. You've got bombing runs. You have no idea how good it feels to pull yourself up to 40,000 feet and drop bombs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on a coordinated set of GPS targets and watch an entire platoon of enemy infantry and tanks and armored vehicles gone just like that. You've got air to air, and it's just this like quiet, silent missile lobbing tennis match, and it gets real hot, real loud when all of a sudden that missile shows up off your left wing and you're freaking out and beep boop beep boop beep boop pull. RWR's going off, radar's going off, and you're shaking it. You can see the missile trail and you're trying to get down to the mountains and just, oh lordy. I'm talking about hiding from enemy radar. They keep pinging on your radar display. But there's a mountain range, so you get your belly real low. You're in the dirt, baby, and your plane's not happy about it. Altitude, pull up. But you're still on the ground because you know as soon as you peek your head over that mountain range, that SAM site's gonna put a big white telephone pole up your ass. So you better hug the earth, baby. You better ride that freaking valley till you get close enough to pop up, pull target, lock, launch missile, get back down in the valley before they can take you out. Buddy, you've just taken them out. Woo! This game has an incredible arcade simulator balance. You got your arcade games, right? You got your Pilot Wings, you got your Crimson Skies. Sure, you're flying, but it doesn't really feel like it, except that you're moving in 3D. Then you got your sim games, right? You got your DCS, you got your Microsoft Flight Simulator with all the assists turned off. And those can feel too much, because now all of a sudden you got all these buttons and toggles, and it takes you a 15-page checklist just to turn the freaking plane on. The thing about VTOL VR is that it balances that perfectly. You know, you have to earn your kills in this game, but it's not Soulsborne the flight simulator, right? You can get kills, but if you really want to get those complicated kills with the air-to-air missiles, with the air-to-ground missiles, with unguided bombs, even with GPS bombs, you're going to have to learn how to select certain GPS targets. You're going to have to learn how to do the nav screen. You're going to have to learn how to do radar and anti-radar to lock on properly for those missiles. But it feels so good when you know how to do it and you do it right. That's what's awesome about this game. It has so much variety of mechanical depth that you can just go down one specific mechanic, learn all about it, learn its intricacies, love doing it, and never touch another mechanic. It doesn't force you to, but you know it's going to be just as enjoyable when you do interact with it. Something else this game does really, really well is translate modern tactical concepts of air-to-ground and particularly air-to-air combat into your little gamer brain. I feel like I understand air-to-air combat in the modern age now better because of having played VTOL VR. Dogfights, man, those can get real nasty. They can get real personal, especially when you're in guns range, because you're pulling G's, right? You're managing your power. You're trying to stay on them. You're like, get that pipper on them. Get that pipper on them. Just a little. I need a little pipper right across their wings, right. And sure, I know real jets are much more complicated than this, but I could fucking do it now. I could fucking fly a plane because of this game. I could do it. Did I mention this game has aircraft carriers? Turns out, folks, landing on an aircraft carrier is hard. You got your plane going real slow. You know, you see the little balls light up and come in clear for landing. You're like, oh God, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. Bolter, go around. You bounce off the deck, pump on the afterburner, take off. Oh God, I gotta go around again. Can I just land this thing on land? Did I mention this game has multiplayer? You typically have more dynamic missions in multiplayer. Certain triggers, you know, so-and-so hit that base early and now they're alerted, so they're scrambling a dozen fighters heading for us right now. Whole team's got to rally and take them out before they take out the aircraft carrier that we've been flying off of the whole game. The community as well. Fantastic. They enjoy role-playing. It's not mandatory, it's not every match, but they'll do call-outs while they're flying. So they won't force you to do it, but it's enjoyable when you're having fun and you're pretending to be a pilot and you hear other people pretending to be pilot, and at the end of the day, you're just bombing the same people with your bros, you know? What's more fun about that? This game is constantly updated, and once every year or two, they're adding a whole new plane to it. We've got the FA-26, which was the first vehicle in the game. It's basically a single-seater F-16. We've got the F-45, which is my personal favorite. It's basically the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter. You got the T-55, which is basically a T-50 two-seater trainer jet. You got the AH-94, which is basically an Apache attack helicopter. This is so different from flying a plane. I didn't realize how hard it was to fly a helicopter. And the most recent addition is the EF-24G, which is basically an F-14 Tomcat with the movable swept wings, if you remember from the original Top Gun movie. I'm gonna say it. VTOL VR is a perfect game. Sure, it's got little flaws. It's got some things that could work better or be better. But at the end of the day, the reason why this is a perfect game is because it's hard for me to play any other game. It's hard for me to play any VR game that isn't VTOL VR now, because all those other games are either mechanically shallow, or they don't let you fully interact with things, or they're just not an overall enjoyable or enthralling experience. This game has ruined flight simulators for me. I don't want to play 2D flat flight simulators anymore. It doesn't feel as good as sitting in the cockpit, in VR, with stereoscopic vision, with the ability to look around freely, grabbing the joystick and throttle and all the toggle buttons with my hands. And honestly, this game has kind of ruined milsim games for me as well, because of how balanced it is. They basically took all the systems, the mechanics, how it works, cut out 75% of the steps, simplified how to interact with it and use it and how it behaves, enough so that you get the feeling and a little hint of the complexity of it, but it's not an absolute chore. It's not a pain in the ass. Look, let's boil it down. If you have a VR headset that can play VTOL VR, you should buy this game and play it immediately. That's it. This is the game that all VR games should strive... No, this is the game that all video games should strive to be. That's how good it is. Play this.